Imagine waking up to your mailbox looking like it lost a fight with a kangaroo. Tilted, lock busted, door flapping like a gossip's mouth. But this wasn't some punk kid's prank. It was a calculated strike in a suburban war zone where the real weapons were clipboards and passive-aggressive notes. And me? I was the guy who finally decided that silence wasn't golden. It was just letting the tyrants win. Let me take you back to that crisp Tuesday morning in our oh-so-perfect cul-de-sac in suburban Virginia, where the lawns were manicured like a politician's smile and the HOA ruled with an iron fist wrapped in velvet gloves. I'm Alex Rivera, a freelance graphic designer who'd moved here 5 years ago thinking it was a quiet haven. Boy, was I wrong. I kept my head down, paid my dues on time, even volunteered for the annual block party cleanup. But whispers followed me like shadows. Rumors that I was that artsy type who didn't fit the mold, spread by none other than the HOA queen bee herself, Patricia Hargrove. Patty, as she insisted on being called, though everyone muttered petty behind her back, was the epitome of suburban overlord, mid-50s, pearl necklace choking her neck, always in yoga pants that screamed, "I'm fit and you're not," and a smile that could curdle milk. She patrolled the neighborhood like a shark in shallow water, fining folks for grass blades over 2 inches or holiday lights that dared to twinkle past January 5th. That morning, as trash trucks rumbled by, I stepped out in my robe to snag the paper and froze. My mailbox, sturdy, unassuming, federal property, was leaning forward like it had been body slammed. The lock snapped off clean. Door wide open, inviting every squirrel in the county to a party. I glanced up and down the street. Pristine boxes everywhere else, flags waving mockingly. Well, ain't this special? I muttered, snapping a quick photo on my phone. Random vandalism? Please. This had Patty's fingerprints all over it. Metaphorical ones. Anyway, she'd been hounding me for weeks about my front door's non-compliant shade of navy blue. Apparently, it offended the sacred color palette decreed in the HOA Bible. I dialed the post office while the coffee brewed, figuring I'd report the damage and move on. The clerk on the line, sounding bored as a DMV worker, dropped the bomb. "Sir, you filed a change of address form yesterday, right? We unlocked it per your request for mail forwarding." My mug hit the counter. "What? No, I didn't." "I'm not going anywhere." She clicked her keys. "Form's right here. Signed and processed. Key override approved." Click. Hang up. Someone had forged my mail reroute, a federal no-no that could land you in stripes. And who had the motive? Patty and her HOA cronies, who'd been nitpicking my every move since I painted that door. They'd even started a whisper campaign, calling me unreliable at the last community meeting because my freelance gig meant irregular hours. "We need stability here," Patty had cooed, her voice dripping honeyed venom. Fuming, I hopped in my car and headed to the HOA office. Really just a converted garage in Patty's McMansion, complete with inspirational posters about community harmony. Her SUV was parked out front, license plate blaring HRMNY1, in irony so thick you could spread it on toast. I barged in, finding her perched at a desk, sipping green tea from a mug that read "World's Best Enforcer." "Morning, Alex," she said without looking up, her fingers dancing on a laptop like she was composing a symphony of fines. "Heard about the mailbox mishap? Tragic. Perhaps if it matched the approved designs." I cut her off, leaning in. "Cut the crap, Patty. You tampered with federal mail. Forged a forwarding request. That's prison time, not a slap on the wrist." Her eyes flicked up, that fake smile cracking just a hair. "Oh, darling, that's quite the accusation." "Me? I'd never." "But rules are rules, your door's still an eyesore. Maybe focus on compliance instead of conspiracy theories." Her twitchy denial was almost comical, like a kid caught with cookie crumbs denying the jar existed. "I didn't buy it." That afternoon, I filed a report with the USPS Postal Inspection Service, attaching my photo and demanding the forged form. 2 days later, it arrived in my temporary P.O. box. I nearly spit out my coffee signed P. Hargrove, on behalf of HOA Compliance Enforcement. She hadn't even forged my signature, just slapped her own on like she owned the post office too. "Amateur hour," I chuckled darkly. "Printing copies." This wasn't just petty, it was hilariously arrogant. I met Inspector Ramirez at a neutral coffee shop. He was a no-nonsense guy with a mustache that screamed, "I've seen it all." Flipping through the papers, he whistled. "This is mail fraud, plain and simple. Forgery on federal docs? We'll investigate." I nodded, feeling the first spark of payback. "Make it stick." She's been terrorizing this neighborhood for years, but Patty wasn't one to roll over. That evening, as I reviewed security footage from my discreet cams, installed after anonymous warnings about my recycling bins, I spotted it. A shadowy figure lurking by the mailbox at midnight, glancing around before yanking at the lock. Zoom in, bam. It was Victor Klein, the HOA's vice president, a paunchy accountant who followed Patty like a lost puppy. His car plate gleamed under the streetlight. "Gotcha," I whispered, saving the clip. Victor was the type who quoted bylaws at barbecues, always with a smug, "It's for the greater good." Now, here he was, playing midnight vandal. The irony? The HOA had a rule against loitering after dark. Knowing they'd retaliate, I didn't confront them yet. Instead, I headed to the county clerk's office the next day, requesting HOA records, bylaws, minutes, finances, all public if you knew the magic words. The clerk, a sharp-eyed lady named Rita, handed over a USB with a wink. "Fourth request this week." "Folks are fed up." I probed. "Others complaining?" She leaned in. "One about embezzled pool funds. Another on rigged votes." "You're not alone, hon." Back home, poring over the files, the rot emerged like mold in a damp basement. Budget discrepancies. $15K vanishing into miscellaneous enforcement. Missing signatures on approvals. And the kicker, a memo titled Non-Compliant Resident Strategy, outlining how to encourage relocation via escalating fines, permit blocks, and, get this, mail interruption to disrupt documentation flow. It was a playbook for harassment, signed off by Patty herself. I categorized printouts, fraud follies, vote shenanigans, harassment hijinks, humming with dark amusement. I thought, they think they're untouchable? Let's pop that bubble. I reached out to an old college buddy, Lena Park, now a prosecutor in the DA's office. We hadn't chatted in ages, but she answered on the first ring. "Alex? Long time." "What's up?" I laid it out. Federal mail tampering, HOA corruption, possible theft of dues. She paused. "Meet me at the diner off Route 7. Bring everything." Over greasy burgers, I spread the evidence like a poker hand. Lena's eyes widened with each page. "This isn't neighborhood drama. It's a racket. If they accessed your mail, that's identity theft territory, bills, suspense." "Serious?" I smirked. Enough for cuffs? Plenty. But brace yourself, they'll fight dirty. She was right. That night, my Wi-Fi blinked out. Just mine. Neighbors' lights glowed mockingly. I checked the router, tampered wiring. No prints, but a sticky note inside, comply or disconnect. Cute. 2 days later, a certified letter from the HOA, violation, unauthorized tech installations, cameras. Remove within 48 hours or face liens. I laughed. My cams were on my property, legal as apple pie. Forwarded it to Lena, who looped in the feds. Enter Agent Harlan, a Fed with a voice like gravel. He called, "We're broadening this. Mail fraud's the tip. We're digging into complaints going back 3 years. Subpoenas flew like confetti. Turns out, I wasn't the Lone Ranger. The Ivy Lane accountant? She had ledgers showing $25,000 in dues siphoned to phantom vendors. The ex-military guy. Audio of Patty and Victor plotting to slap a lien on a vet's home for unapproved flower beds. Really a therapy garden. The dam cracked. Stories flooding in. Neighbors knocked timidly at first. They fined me for my kid's lemonade stand. Unsanctioned commerce. Another denied my roof repair permit because it didn't match the aesthetic, then charged me for neglect. I nodded, recording it all. Time to flip the script. The escalation hit fever pitch when I organized a covert garage summit. 20 households crammed in, folding chairs squeaking under tension. I projected the evidence on a white sheet, forged forms, footage of Victor's midnight caper, the damning memo. Gasps rippled. They did what? One whispered. Bastards, another growled. But the mumbles turned to nods. They'd known, deep down. We formed a residents' rebellion committee, my cheeky name, and petitioned to suspend the board. Bylaws said 51% signatures triggered review. We nailed it in 36 hours, folks signing with glee. Patty's emergency meeting? A circus. She strutted in, clipboard aloft, but Agent Harlan waited, warrant in hand. Before you pontificate, he drawled. Federal seizure, records, logs, all of it. Patty blanched. This is outrageous. We're upholding standards. Victor stammered. It's for harmony. The third Bordai, quiet Ellie, bolted for the door. Harlan's sit boomed like thunder. He listed charges. Mail fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement, intimidation. The board? Suspended on the spot. Patty's face? Priceless. A mask cracking under the weight of her own hypocrisy. But oh, the real fireworks were just igniting. Lena called days later, deeper dive, fake companies. They've funneled $60,000 in dues to shells under Victor's cousin's name. I whistled. How dumb. Arrogantly so. I set up a pop-up in the neglected community gazebo, untouched despite upkeep fees. By lunch, a queue formed. Statements poured. A single mom fined for excessive holiday decor, 3 lights, coerced into extra dues. A couple tricked into voting for park improvements that funded Patty's enforcement retreats. 30 affidavits later, Lena's team pounced. That night, cop cars lit Victor's driveway like Christmas. He emerged cuffed, mumbling about misunderstandings. Patty, nabbed mid-latte the next morning, pearls clinking against the cuffs. Headlines screamed, HOA Royals dethroned in fraud fiasco. A receiver, Judge Carla Ruiz, took over a bulldog with zero fluff. At the town hall, she laid bare unauthorized fines, bogus contracts, property grabs under lies. This was extortion in khakis. Questions flew. I asked about refunds. Restitution incoming, all sham penalties reversed. Cheers erupted. But tempered justice was grinding, not galloping. The mail case sealed it. Inspector Ramirez met me in a sterile Fed office. Your evidence nailed him. Forgery, footage, memos airtight. The folder revealed Ellie's hidden role, setting up P.O. boxes for laundered checks. Quiet ones are the sneakiest, I quipped. Sentences? Patty got 4 years. Whining about community stress. Judge rolled eyes. Victor, 6. No parole. Ellie pled. Got 2. Turned state's witness. Funds clawed back enough for real park fixes. Volunteer-led. The neighborhood bloomed. Wild gardens, quirky paints, no clipboard patrols. We elected a new board, teachers, retirees, bakers who slashed rules, mandated transparency. I didn't run. Instead, joined a city transparency panel, dragging shadows into light. One day, fixing my reinforced mailbox, now a fortress. A kid biked up. You're the HOA slayer. Ha! I grinned. Nah. Just the guy who mailed back the BS. A state commendation arrived, filed away as a reminder. Persistence pays. The cul-de-sac exhaled. Potlucks buzzing with real talk, not fear. New folks painted doors rainbow. Solar panels sprouted unchecked. We'd rebuilt from rot, with eyes wide open. But here's the kicker, was the HOA the real villain? Or just a mirror of what happens when good folks stay silent too long?